Greetings, friends. It's Pat at Dancing Moon Travel, and I'm back with another fun and fabulous episode of Let's Talk Travel. And I am so excited about this particular episode because our own Jason Odell is with us this week, and he's going to be telling us about his recent experience for Canada New England cruise aboard a princess ship. And it brought back great memories for me because I did this a few years ago and absolutely loved our experience with this. So you will want to stay tuned because he has a lot of great experience to share. And I'm going to bring him on right now. Hi, Jason. Greetings.
Hey, Pat, how are you doing?
I am doing good. Jason, just for any new viewer, we never know who's tuning in with us at any given week. For anyone who doesn't know you, not familiar with you, could you just share a little bit about your background and what you do and so forth so people get a little
How,
bit of
how
background?
far back do I go?
Oh, far as you
Yeah,
want to, but remember,
no.
we only got 30 minutes
I
here.
was gonna say no. My background is originally in science, and I have a degree in biology, and then I um, bounced around for different things. And in 2010, I became a full-time professional photographer, more I should say photo tour leader, workshops, that kind of stuff. And in 2015, no, 16, I met you and started doing things together. And so I continue to do photo workshops, photo classes, and I publish books on photography online, and then tours. And this is where we got together. And the tours are fun, and sometimes those tours are by land, and one if by land, two if by sea. Speaking of New England, and so it's good. And then in 2020, that fun year, I actually became one of your agents. So that's kind of been was kind of
That
on
was
the back
great
burner,
timing there. You
but
at least
but
had time to kind of get some training as you
yeah.
before you.
So anyway, so I wear a couple of different hats, but travel advisor hat, and then most of the time my photography uh, tour leader hat, and both of
Yes,
those
yeah, and
they go together pretty well.
they really do. They really it's just, it's kind of a natural affinity there. Now you guys, and this is when I say you guys,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
right.
you and Shayla.
That's right.
And where were I love this picture, by the way.
Uh, yeah, that was on the bus when we were cruising around Newport, Rhode Island,
Okay,
on the motor coach. There we were.
okay, very
Went
good.
and saw all the fancy stuff.
Y
The
I
robber
I
barons' homes.
love that picture, just great picture of both of you, and tell us a little bit, what ship were you on here?
It was the Emerald Princess on Princess Cruise Lines, um,
Okay.
and it it's not a huge ship. I think it's like 3,000 capacity, roughly, in that neighborhood.
Yeah, still categorized as a large ship, but
Oh yeah,
by today's standards, when we're talking about 6,000 people on the mega ships, it's a ship that still you could is fairly easy to navigate. So, uh, Jason, I know that you have experience now. You've sailed on several different cruise lines over the years now. Good cross section of
mhm.
providers. How would you rate your Emerald Princess experience? And how might it be a little different from some of the other cruises you've taken?
Um, so Princess kind of slots in. Um, they're not like the super fancy, elegant, but it's nice. And this particular cruise, we didn't have a lot of families and children on board, so that partly because of the itinerary and the timing, I think. But um, I think Royal Caribbean might be a little bit. Their ships have a little more bling. That's like a little bit more. You know, fancy mall shopping type things. Cunard was definitely the British, you know, somewhat more formal experience. That was for sure. Um, So
You've
for
really
those
covered
two,
the categories there because you've got Royal Caribbean in the contemporary group, and you've got Cunard in the luxury group, and
and
Pre
I would say Holland is
Princess.
a little bit fancier than Princess, but they're on
Mhm.
par. They're good. So
Same
uh,
category there. Yeah.
yeah, so I enjoy the experience in general on Princess. I think it would be good for pretty much anybody who would be cruising. You don't have to worry too much about things being super fancy, um, or anything like that. If and it's not going to be like the super high end luxury experience either. It's a solid cruise line, I think.
Right, and it's a Princess is a great choice for people who really like a larger ship. Most of their ships are a little larger than the other ships in the other cruise lines in that category are Holland America, basically all mid-sized ships,
Hmm, hmm.
and Celebrity, and they're in the mid to large ship category with most of theirs. Each experience a little bit different, but Princess is great on the entertainment end of things. I think they kind of get the nod for maybe some of the best entertainment in their category.
They had
Uh,
some stuff that I didn't stay awake for, but
yeah, there's
they
all.
had some comedy stuff. They had a guy who was doing an Elton John tribute, which was we heard him rehearsing from the theater there. Um,
Okay.
our timing with our meals sometimes got in the way of going to a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff.
I've found that that can be the case sometime, but uh, how about was Emerald Princess was the ship in good condition
Yeah,
and
yeah. Although they were doing some repainting one of the days when they were doing some stuff around the pool. Although on a New England cruise, not a lot of people are in the pool, so it was fine. Yeah, it was good condition. Like you said, it's a little bit older, hasn't been refurbished in some time. I mean, with like a major
right.
refurbishment. It's been a little while, but no, it was in good shape, and everything seemed to I didn't have any strange experiences with it. I thought it was pretty nice, and it was very comparable. It's actually the sister ship to Ruby Princess, which is what I sailed in Alaska back in 2017 and 18.
Yeah, I think that was about your first experience with us, probably was your Alaska cruise.
I think it was my
First time
second,
around. Okay.
but yes,
Real good. And by the way, one thing about Princess, I just tell our viewers who may not be familiar, it is of all the premium cruise lines. So if you like a little more upscale experience with enhanced food and so forth, uh, Princess is a great choice for families as well. Now, you didn't have many families on board due to time of year and
no, it just
itinerary,
isn't
but
the.
yeah, but it's a great choice often for people who want to have a little more upscale. I'd say of the three premium cruise lines, probably the most family friendly of the three. They're known for having great programs for your kids. So just throwing that out there for our viewers who might think that they'd like a princess experience, but what about the little ones? They're a great choice. Jason, can we let's talk, let's move next. I'd like to talk a little bit for you to tell us about your itinerary on this one.
Sure. What actually attracted me to this itinerary is that it's round trip out of New York City, which is fairly easy to deal with. I say fairly easy because New York is big, but it wasn't any open-ended port, start one place, end in another, which many of the New England cruises tend to do. They'll go Boston up to Montreal or something, but this
Mm-hmm.
was just round trip from New York. That makes plane tickets piece of cake. You just buy round trip ticket. We actually went to New York a couple days early, partly because we wanted to make sure we didn't miss the boat, but also because we wanted to see stuff in New York City. And you could easily tag on a day or two on the front or the back end to see New York, because that's just an embarkation disembarkation port. There's no, it's not really on the itinerary. And then it went to Newport, Rhode Island, which is an island. Actually, and so that's a tendered harbor. You gotta anchor out there, um, and then to Boston, um, and then up to we went to Bar Harbor, Maine. There's
I think I
Boston.
recognize that
Yeah,
destination there.
that would be Boston for sure, right there in Boston Commons. Um, and then up to Canada, we went to St. John, New Brunswick, which is Bay of Fundy, and then over to Halifax, Nova Scotia. And then one sea day on the way back. That was it, just the overnight, and then one full day at sea, and you get back to New York City in the morning. And if you get up early, we sailed past the Statue of Liberty as she was lit up. It was wonderful.
That is absolutely always. I don't care how many times you've done that. You sail by the Statue of Liberty. It just, it just
It's a
gives you
good
a thrill.
feeling.
Yeah,
It really is.
it just blesses me every time. I've got a few photos here that I'm not sure the destination there. Is
Oh,
this
where was that? I have no clue where. Oh, I think that was coming into I don't think that was Boston. I'll have to look to see where that one was. I was
okay?
just randomly taking pictures out of the cabin there.
Just,
And
just
I think that was in coming into Halifax or St. John. That was in Canada for sure. So this is
okay.
just shots from my balcony stateroom because I was bored.
Just taking some off,
Yeah.
and here you have Shayla. I know where
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, that's in Acadia National Park. So that was our day. We had an excursion to the national park. We had some wonderful fall colors there up in Maine.
Most excellent. Yeah, yeah. This is a great itinerary. I know I remember uh, the photographers in a group that we had when we did this particular similar itinerary with Princess. Uh, just had amazing opportunities for photography and history lovers. Oh my goodness, what a great
Yeah.
place for
And it's
for
very walkable for the most part. Just depends on, Boston, even a city as large as Boston, all the historical stuff is in one relatively small area, so you can walk around over the court, it's a mile, but I mean, over the course of several hours, who can't walk a mile? I mean, it's usually,
exactly. Even
it's not a
yours
big deal.
truly can manage that one. Did you have a favorite port of call? What would you say if you had to choose a favorite?
Well, they're all different in their own special way. That was it was cool. I definitely liked Halifax though, because that's very different, and it's Canada, and it's pretty little harbor. It was just so beautiful there. And we kind of just did a taster. We rented a car and went around and just looking at different spots. Um, Obviously, Peggy's Cove is very cool. It also gets very full of tourists very quickly. So, um, but that I think was one of my favorite spots. But each one has a good, if you like the history, then Boston is going to be. If you like to see some really interesting history, Newport, Rhode Island, a very unusual spot because that's where you talk about money.
Mhm.
There was some money in there from
Oh, all of
Vanderbilts and whatnot.
right, all of the if you wanted to do name dropping, they all had a place there. Marble House and
Oh
all of those
yeah, it was
places
incredible.
there along that cliff walk. Uh, it's just great, and you can tour some of those uh, amazing places too. Did you do any excursions while you were there that you could
Yeah.
recommend?
Well, yeah, we did excursions, and so definitely we did a sort of a exploratory of Newport since I hadn't been there. It was a harbor uh, tour on a boat, and then a coach tour took you along. So we didn't go into the mansions, but we went by them all. And the harbor is interesting because out there is all these sailboats, and some of them are ones that won the America's Cup back in the 60s. It's like there they
Wow.
are. They're just sitting there. So that was kind of cool. Um, but and the church where the Kennedys got married is in Newport, for example. Boston, we just did a self-guided tour ourselves. We just took an Uber into the city from the cruise terminal. Um, if you go to Bar Harbor, you pretty much need to do Acadia National Park in some. That's what you go there for, really. Um,
or the food. I mean, you
yeah, you
absolutely
can do the food stuff.
the
Yeah, there's
seafood
plenty of
there
food.
is.
Yeah, and St. John, that one's a good one to take a side trip um, out into the countryside to go on the coast along the Bay of Fundy. Because if you're just in the city, there's not quite so much there. The tides are pretty crazy. And Halifax, same thing. You want to get out into the countryside. So we did some self-directed stuff, but we also did things that were kind of modeled off excursions that were available
Yes.
through the ship.
I think there are some cool, if I remember right now, when we did this trip, our St. John call got canceled because of a weather issue. So we
Oh,
spent an extra overnight in Halifax. But I
oh,
believe that our excursion plan for St. John included several covered bridges in that area
we
around there.
did see some. Yes, there
Yeah.
is one. There is one
So
that we found, and lighthouses and that kind of thing too.
you can do. Oh my goodness, New England, you can do a whole tour on just seeing
Right.
lighthouses if that happens to be your thing. So Jason, I got to always ask,
Oh yeah.
you know, how about the food?
Well, so this is funny, Pat, because normally when depending on on the cruise that you're on and the itinerary that you're on, you end up eating on the ship a lot. But
Yes.
on this tour, the, our itineraries had us not only ashore most of the day, but at a significant distance from the ship. We weren't going to just casually get back on board for lunch.
Right.
So we ate in town for lunch, and this is a wonderful
A
lobster roll that I
little
had.
lobster roll there.
Yeah, I think I had lobster roll or some variant of it 3 or 4 days in a row because, I mean,
Why
come
would
on,
you not? It's there. And
it was there. And in Canada, the lobster roll was incredibly affordable. My lobster roll and French fries, which was just a simple one. It wasn't a fancy. We were just at a place in. This was in St. John.
just authentic
It
local
was
fare.
just at the local market in downtown St. John. It cost me $18 Canadian, but that's $13
Yeah,
US.
that's just amazing.
So that was
Absolutely amazing. What about on board the ship?
the food on board was great, and I definitely would say in this particular case, I ate more at the dining room for the dinners than I did at the buffet, although we did both. That's a menu from one of the restaurants where we stopped in Newport, Rhode Island.
Okay, I thought
Wonderful.
this was a lunch menu from the ship,
No,
probably.
that was yeah, those prices weren't cheap, but that was good
Well, it
stuff.
does have money on there, so I guess.
Yeah. Well, Shayla had that surf and turf burger, which was a hamburger with a lobster claw on. Yeah,
Wow.
good stuff. So, but the food on board was wonderful as I would have expected it to be. I think the desserts are a little bit better in the main dining room than what you get. Um, and another thing I discovered in the main
Yeah,
dining room is, and that was from the ship, and I'll talk
I
about that in a second.
okay. We'll
Um,
come back to that. You
because
just tell me when.
yeah. So the dining options on Princess were a little bit confusing at first. They have their specialty. They have the main dining and then the normal buffet, that you
Yeah.
can go to anytime. That's fine. That's like everybody. And then they had specialty dining, which again, many of them do, and those have an upcharge.
Rudy Steakhouse, etc.
Right. And then they have something they call casual dining. And it's not explained very well. Nobody could seem to explain. You couldn't make a reservation for it in their app. You had to call them or whatever to make a reservation. And the reason why I looked into it was because I had a package that included 2 nights of quote unquote casual dining, which is what that photo was, because they have a seafood boil place and they have a barbecue place. And they're both located in the back part of the main where the buffet would be, but it requires a reservation. It's a small, I think it's like $13 or $14 upcharge if you didn't have it as part of your
Okay.
package. And the food was great. The seafood boil was great. The barbecue was like more than I could even eat. It was very, very good. They just didn't quite explain. But what was really interesting is because I think a lot of people didn't realize those things were there. It was quiet. It was like being in the buffet in the back, but there was only 3 or 4 other people eating there with you, and you had waiter
Cool.
service, and they came and you could do the whole thing. So as it turns out, it was nice to have that as an option.
Very good. And worth the modest upcharge to do something
Yeah,
like.
for that was no, especially if you didn't want to participate in formal night, but you wanted to not be in the crowd of the main buffet area. That would be
Yeah.
very nice. So they also have their little gastropub at the what they call the Salty Dog Cafe at the Wheelhouse Bar. Turns out that was also casual dining. We could have booked that too. We just didn't know.
Okay. They need to get the word out about that. Okay, Princess folks, if
Yeah,
anybody's listening
yeah,
down
it was
there,
just it was just a little bit vague on how that whole
yeah,
thing worked.
need to get that make that more clear and people obviously Jason
Now
was
I will
willing to.
tell you something interesting
Okay,
that was a surprise to me, a little unexpected
that
thing
was
in a
my
good way.
next question. So
Okay.
what a segue.
All right. Um, Princess started implementing something different when it comes to access on the ship. Now, if you've been on a cruise, you know that you get your cruise ID card, and that's your room key, and you wear it around your neck on a lanyard or whatever, and you don't want to lose, that's your literally your everything. It's what you can use to charge uh, meals to.
It's your lifeline on board.
Absolutely. So Princess has done something they've modified this a little bit, and they call it a medallion.
The medallion, yes.
And it's new. It's still got the kinks to be, they're still trying to work out the kinks with it. But what you want to do, and this is what I was too busy and didn't pay attention. If you are smart, like my traveling companions were, you can go online and order the medallion. It's free, and they ship it to you at your house before you even leave. So then you've got your key, and you can go into the fast track when you're checking in. I didn't do that because I was lazy. I got my medallion at the port. No problem. It's got your name on it. It has, it's this little hockey puck thing. Okay. And they give you a lanyard that will hold it. They also sell you little bracelets and things you can, get cute with it, right?
You're right.
So this medallion, it's what you tap to get on and off the ship. It's loaded to your photo, all that stuff like your room key might have been. It also is what you would use to purchase drinks, if you have either a drink package or just charging something to your room. But here was the cool thing. It has some sort of, chip in there, and it's not only your room key, it knows when you're coming. As soon as you're about 3 or 4 feet from your door, there's this LCD display on your door and says who's in there. And boom, it says, "Welcome, Jason." And it unlocks your door for you. You don't even have to, as long as you have it somewhere on your person. And if it for some reason doesn't read, you just tap it on the screen there. And so this was very cool. So it's like if you're like carrying a drink, or so, I was getting coffee, right? And oh, door's unlocked. I didn't have to slide anything or
No,
tap anything. It just
didn't have to
unlocked it.
pull the card out. Yeah.
Exactly. That was fantastic. So I'm hoping that, as that matures a little bit, it's going to be quite nice as part of the experience.
Okay, so there were still because I've had mixed reviews on it. Great concept but it's not
Yeah.
quite.
Sometimes it didn't want to register, but here was another time. Okay, let me tell you this. You go up to the bar because you need to get your margarita or your whatever, it's 5 o'clock somewhere drink. And you say, "I would like a such and such," and the bartender has a screen, and he looks at and it has everybody's picture who's standing at the bar, and he goes, "Oh, you're Jason. Hey, okay, I'll charge that to your account."
That is cool. That
So
is
sometimes it was pretty neat.
I can see it also. I can perceive that you can hand your card off to somebody pretty easily, and somebody could be getting a drink that's not really you. You just shared your card, and they didn't buy the drink package. But with the
Yeah.
medallion, it shows you there you are. So I think it has some practical aspects for the cruise line as well. That is great. What about on the other end of things, Jason? Were there any more didn't quite hit the mark? Anything that didn't meet expectations?
Well, I think I've already alluded to the fact that just trying to understand the new system. Other thing that was, and this wasn't the cruise experience, but the Princess app that they have was very glitchy in the beginning to try to log into it. It worked fine when I was on the ship. It was okay, and I had Wi-Fi and stuff like that. But when you register for a cruise and you go into the website and you say you put in all your passport information, okay, so I did that. And then they go, oh, well, we've changed over to a new system. You got to go to the Medallion app. Well, first I couldn't even log into it with my Princess credential. I was able to log into it with my name and my booking number. So I got in. And then I had to put all the passport info back in. I had to put all the photos, but everything that I had already done, in advance. So that was kind of annoying. And then not knowing where to go with the casual dining stuff. But by and large, it was they did pretty good. I mean, I was there. The only thing that was kind of, and this wasn't the cruise line's fault, but weird rules in Canadian ports. And the weird rule in Canadian ports is that they are by law only allowed to operate one bar on each deck. So if you come back from your trip to Halifax and you wanted to grab a beer or something, you had to go find the one bar that was open on that deck.
Oh my!
And the rest said, no, we'll be opening once we embark. And so
Once we leave port, we're good. But until
so
then,
yeah.
oh, it's funny. You know, it's just really funny. Sometimes when you get to different destinations, the little quirks that are out there. I remember, just a side story about years ago, but in Missouri had some really weird alcohol laws, and my parents and we were kids, and they wanted to take. They stopped in this restaurant, and they ordered beer with their dinner. Well, you can't. I can't sell you. We've got a package license. You got to go around out that door and come back in this door for me to sell you two beers, and then you can come back and bring it. It was just weird stuff. So,
Sounds like
yeah,
some stuff they used to have in Pennsylvania as
just
well.
just some weird stuff. But uh, who would you say should consider doing an itinerary similar to that? Who would you think would be ideally suited for this?
I definitely think that if you want to do this itinerary, this is not the laid back, kick back at the pool kind of itinerary, right? This one is, what did you say? It was port intensive. You
Yeah.
know, um, it is, because you're going to have relatively long days where you're farther away from the ship than just pop back in. It's not like you're going to the little seaside town in Mexico or wherever and you go to the beach and then you go back on the ship and it's there's some distance involved. So you need to be able to walk a fair bit. It's not ton, you can do it however, you can take Ubers and you can do things, but there is a bit of walking involved. And you have to be able to realize that you're going to have some pretty early mornings, getting off that ship 7, 8 in the morning, especially if there's a water taxi involved. There is that. So, if you're looking for the kind of itinerary where you just turn your brain off, this isn't it. But if you're looking to see a part of the country that a lot of people don't always get to, and the history and just unique part of, and let's face it, America is not an old country, but the
Right.
old stuff is all back in Boston and Rhode Island and these places that have been there. So you can find tombstones from 1697 in Boston, and that's very cool, I think.
Yes. It's a lot of history, great for history lovers. Um, you know, we've already touched on the seafood lovers. There's seafood in
If you
every
like
port.
seafood, it's a good place to go.
You
Yeah.
know, we've got seafood down here in Florida, but the seafood up there, it's a difference. It's really better. Photographers, of course, huh, Jason?
Well, definitely nice for, and it's great for travel walkabout photography. You know, just a nice small camera kit, and you walk around and you do a lot of handheld shooting. You're not worrying too much about setting up complicated equipment or anything like that. It was plenty of subjects to photograph, um, regardless of whether or not it's fall colors. I mean, I think it's nice to go in the fall, but I think someone has to, you sort of have to manage your expectations because you're going from New York all the way up to Canada. So chances are there's going to be some colors somewhere, but not everywhere.
Yeah. And
So,
you never know about what any season's going to bring.
right.
How much rain there's been, how much wind there's been. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
but
It just takes one windstorm to knock all those leaves off the day before you get there. And you should have been here yesterday, you know?
yeah, it could be. So, would you do it again? It's always a telling question.
I would absolutely do it again. It was a fun trip. And in fact, I'm going to do it again. I've booked group space. I've reserved a block of cabins to go on a similar itinerary, not identical, at the end of September in 2025, because next year is already
2025.
full. So 2020, I know we're talking about things that are way too far in the future, but I do want to organize a group that would be geared towards photo enthusiasts from cell phones on up, um, to do a similar itinerary. It would also be round trip from New York City on Princess and go to some of the same places, and have some stuff for photographers,
Way
including
cool.
some like photo excursions.
And non-photographer companions I know are usually on this kind of thing when you do these
It's
they're
absolutely
they're totally
welcome,
welcome and
right?
enjoy it too.
We're not trying. I'm not trying to take people to do a photo safari like I might do here. This is a very fun photo enthusiast vacation where you're going to have tons of photo ops, but you're also going to be able to enjoy the company of your companion.
Yeah. So a fun getaway and the option for a few days pre or post in New York as well. So folks,
Absolutely.
mindful of our time here. We're over our usual 30 minutes, but I knew we would be with this one. Thanks for tuning in. We're always glad you're out there. Jason, thank you for your time. Folks, wait. If you're wait for that announcement. If you're a photographer and you're not on Jason's list, Jason Odell, Luminescent Photography out there in Colorado Springs, reach out to him, get on his list because he does stuff like this and you will be glad you're connected. I guarantee it. Thanks again, Jason, and
Thank you,
thanks to
Pat.
everybody. We appreciate you so much. See you soon. Bye now.